Okay, so I'm going to apply the same discipline to our panel, including me, as I've applied to you as an audience. You're going to hear 1 minute. I'm going to ask the panelists in particular to tell us if there's anything which, as it were, has changed in their views, something they've heard that's particularly kind of caught their imagination, or whether they simply are the kind of people who are so clever that they think exactly the same now as they did an hour and a half ago. Okay, Iain, you go first.
Anyone who reads my blog knows that I love lists, so I'm going to give you the top 10 things that I've learned in a David Letterman-type style. Number 10, my mother, the most private person I know, will be horrified that Tom knows all about her. Number 9, I'm so glad I don't have kids. Number 8, Dominic should be in the Big Brother house, and he's indulging in a phenomenon known as celebrity wannabiness. Number 7, Tanya has smaller breasts than she used to. Number 6, if I wasn't convinced ID cards were a bad thing, I am now. Number 5, I'm moving to live in the mountains of West Virginia. Number 4, I really regret putting my civil partnership photos online yesterday. Number 3, never to take my clothes off in front of Jean Seaton. Number 2, Tom has convinced me to cancel my egg card. And number 1, there is no such thing as privacy.
Thank you, Iain. That was absolutely brilliant. Claire?
Easy to blame Dominic, but he's the least of our problems. For me, the problem is that intellectually we've lost sight of how we should defend privacy as a society. And what's most discouraging is that those who try and defend privacy do so either by whipping up fears and risks, whether of paedophiles or of bullies, or by calling for regulation, which actually is going to put a hamper on investigative journalism and finding out things I actually want to know. So we've got to find out what it is about having privacy that matters. I think that it's very important that I should be allowed to have secrets. I want to think out loud. I was really compelled by Jean's point about testing out ideas. I want to be able to say, should we go and do this over here? Maybe that's a stupid idea. I think that person's an idiot. Should we employ them? I don't want everybody scrutinising everything I say. Why not? Because as an autonomous individual, I want to be free. And part of being free is being able to experiment and try out ideas outside of the prying eyes of sometimes other people, sometimes a state, not because they're all 1984, but just in order to try it out and experiment. That's actually how we are a free society. If we give up privacy, we actually give up freedom, and we give up the right to be treated as adults. That's what I don't want. And, Tanya might get on, be able to tell us how to rear our kids, but I don't want to treating us like kids. I don't want to live in a society where we're all kind of treated like that, people telling us how to behave. I'll decide, I'll experiment, and I want to do so in the privacy of my own life. Thank you very much. But don't let's escape like poor old Dominic. I mean, he's just an effect of it all. It's just that it's rather sad. And when the guy says, are we not searching for identity? My problem is that, yes, if young people are searching for an identity, all I'm saying is, you're not going to find it on bloody Facebook. Get involved in ideas, politics, read some books, and then you can sign up as one of my Facebook friends.
Thank you, Claire. Stephen.
And perhaps one should add to that, come and have an argument with Claire. I'm more with Claire than with Iain. I think actually what all of our different witnesses have demonstrated is actually some different aspect of the social value that privacy actually offers us around identity, but also around engagement, around personality, but also, as Claire was saying, really that space for the personal and the ability to develop at least some of your life in private. But also struck too by even the fact that, as Tom was pointing out, there's a sort of business social value here as well. My trouble is I'm not convinced that everything that's happening here is necessarily benign. I understand the point that you can't disinvent nuclear energy, or in this case the ability of people to track you in every conceivable way, but I'm not sure it's quite as neutral as Tom would like us to believe. I think for me, I still am of the view, even having heard all the witnesses, because I think in a certain sense they've underlined my point really, that privacy, a society that doesn't value and protect privacy runs the risk of being without intimacy and without honesty, and also without trust. And I think that's the challenge that we have in this area, whether it's on the one hand social networking, or on the other hand the kind of phase transition stroke social graphing that is clearly beloved by giant corporations. And there is for me an issue of public interest at the heart of all of this, because in the end Our own dignity requires, to some degree, on some self-restraint, and our own liberty depends on some degree of civic engagement. And if we don't defend privacy, if we don't care about it, then we're going to lose an awful lot.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, so what I got from Dominic that, in a sense, this is with us. He's leading the way. People will follow. He's the coolest person here. From Tom, I got that people will exploit this. Businesses will use it, so therefore it's kind of unstoppable. From Camilla, I got that if we did want to stop it, celebrities who we bizarrely look up to will keep feeding it. What I got from Tanya was, therefore, in this new world, we have to kind of do what we can to be reasonably sophisticated and to assist our children in being sophisticated. And what I got from Jean is that this is kind of where we are, this is where society is, but it may be different. So I thought about, well, what could be different? And I think what is interesting is that if you look at content in pop music, arguably what's happening now is that people have realised you can't control content just like we can't control our identities. And so therefore you use content to get people to do something old-fashioned, which is actually to go to gigs and hear bands, because actually when you go through again, you actually hear a band. It is completely different. And the reality is, whatever you see on a computer page, whatever you look at, it isn't actually a person. A person is here with you. And there's all sorts of strange psychological processes that take place in the presence of another human being that will never, ever, ever take place on a computer. So my hope for the future is the ubiquity of all of this. The fact that we could do nothing to defend our privacy will in the end bring real human beings back in. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming this evening. Tonight's event is an RSA event supported by our fellows. If you are a fellow, thank you. If you're not a fellow, then ask a member of staff and they'll tell you about joining the RSA's fast-growing fellowship. Tonight's event's been supported by the Reuters Institute and the Media Standards Trust. But the important thing is to ask you to thank a whole lot of people who gave their time free tonight and have been absolutely fantastic as both witnesses and panel. So I want you to thank, and I go through them very quickly, I want you to thank Dominic Campbell, I want you to thank Tom Ilubi, I want you to thank Tanya Byron, I want you to thank Jean Seaton, I want you to thank Camilla Wright, I want you to thank Claire Fox, I want you to thank Iain Dale, and I want you to thank Stephen Whittle. Thank you.